Today we breathe some life into our project race truck by adding the engine and transmission and show you how to build a custom dash for racing. Looking good, man.
I can't believe you couldn't just pick that up and drop it in yourself.
I'm getting old, Matt.
Hey, welcome to Truck U. I'm Matt Steele.
Hi, I'm Bruno Massel.
Now, this is our race truck. It's back in the shop. We picked this thing up a while back. We got the chassis, the engine, the transmission. It all came together as a package deal. Well, we've been doing a lot of work on this thing recently, and today it's time to put this motor back in it and see what we got, man.
Now, what it is, it's a spec engine, and that's what this sanctioning body goes by. And a lot of them today have turned to the spec engine race program. And the whole idea, they're trying to keep the cost of racing down. So when they say it's a spec motor, they've got specifics on what they want in terms of compression, pistons, camshaft, all sorts of stuff. And the idea behind it is, by limiting it to it, some people can't come out with some exotic combination and get an advantage. This way, the emphasis really goes back to the drivers, and that's what all these grassroots racing series are all about, getting the drivers acclimated to racing and good, close, competitive racing. So with the spec engine, we've got this little seal right here. The whole idea is you can't get the intake manifold off without breaking the seal. You break the seal, well, you're going to be subject to a tear down by the sanctioning body to make sure that everything is up to spec. So once it's up to spec, it's sealed up. So at least we know that part is good. Now, he said the motor was fresh, but just to be safe, we went ahead and pulled the bottom end of this thing. We looked at the bearings on the bottom, everything looked good. Put the pan back on, so hopefully when we fire it up, we'll have oil pressure and we should be good to go.
Now, the mounts are right there, and we're going to actually mount this directly to the chassis. On a typical street vehicle, you're going to have some bushings in there, and they're going to soak up some of the vibrations and make your ride a little bit more comfortable. Well, comfort's not really any concern of ours with this particular race truck. We want a good, strong connection, and that's what it's going to be when we mount it right to the chassis like that. It might vibrate a little bit, but when we get on the engine like that and we're revving it up, it's not going to roll from side to side or anything like that. It's all going to stay together as one good, tight package. Now, keep in mind, this is not some multi-million-dollar unlimited budget race truck. We're trying to do this as cheap as we possibly can, reuse parts, beg, borrow, and steal some parts. So here's what we've been doing. Over the last couple of months, we've hit a couple swap meets and found some stuff. Just kind of set it off to the side. We've gone to our buddies' garages and said, hey, can we borrow that part and maybe never give it back to you? And we bring that back to the shop and stack it all up in the corner. Now, we're starting to put it all back together. The other thing that we wanted to do was reuse as much as we possibly could. It all started with that rear end. Not too long ago, we tore that apart. We had no idea what kind of condition it was going to be in. It was flawless, so that went right back in. Boom, less money we had to spend. Now we came up to the front, and we were saying, well, how much of this can we reuse? Well, there was a lot of punishment up on the front, you know, from all the brakes and the heat and the turns and this, that, the other. One thing that we noticed was the rotor was all but shot, except it had a lot of surface area left. So we knew that we could just take that down to the machine shop, get it turned, bring it back, and reuse it, save a little bit of money there. Now, the first thing we had to do was pop these out when we were taking this in to get turned. And you can see we just used this little punch right there to just get in there with the hammer, and we hammered it out. We didn't care about scuffing it all up because these are cheap. We're replacing them anyway, so who cares? We just smashed them on out of there and everything was fine. Now, when you get ready to put the new ones in, though, you want to use the right tool for the job because you don't want to smash up your new one and get it all scratched up. That defeats the purpose of the all-new bearings anyway. Now, another thing, keep in mind, right there on the side, you can kind of see that was a little bit shinier than we wanted it to be, which means that that was spinning around a little bit inside the hub. Now, if you let that go for too long, it can trash out the whole hub. Fortunately, we caught it in plenty of time. Now we're ready to put this new one right back in. So what we need to do is get that in. And we're going to use this brass hammer. We talk about using the right tool for the right job all the time. If we were going to use this same punch and we were putting it down in there, and no matter how careful we would be when we were slamming it in there, we're probably going to miss once and scuff up the bearing. That's no good. The brass hammer is good and soft, so we can mess up. It's not going to scratch the bearing. It'll actually hurt this stuff before it hurts that. So let me make sure I get these on, just in case anything crazy happens, and we can start pounding this in and get this in place. Now with the hammer, I can get it down there to where it's level, right about there. But I've got to get it all the way down to where it seeds in. So I'll take this little brass block, that's one way to do it, and I'll get that lined up on the corner, and then I just pound that down until I get it into place. Now that's going to take me a couple minutes. So I'll keep working on that. We need to go to break right now. When we come back, I need to grease up the bearings, and Bruno has some work to do as well.
Hey, welcome back. Now it's time for us to go ahead and make our battery cables will run from the back of the truck and the battery all the way up front to the engine so this thing will have power. Now, you could go down to your local parts store and have one professionally made up, or you can just do like we're doing at home and make this up yourself. It's pretty easy to do. First thing, you've got your cable here and your fitting. Now we've gone ahead and cut back the insulation, as you can see, so this will fit down inside of there. Next thing you need to do is go ahead and take your heat shrink tube like we've done and slide it back over the tube. You don't want to forget, because at the end it's too late to put it on, so make sure it's on already before you go any further. Go on ahead and put a little flux inside of here, so it'll act as a good bonding agent as you start to solder, and stuck in about 2.5 inches of this lead. Now here's where the magic happens. What you want to do is heat it up so it melts. Once you do that, all you do is you stick the end inside of it, let it cool down, and once it cools, you put your heat shrink over it. It's just that simple.
Now, there are a couple different methods you can use to accomplish this, and here's a quick, easy one that a lot of guys like because it is quick, it's easy, it's relatively inexpensive, and you can do it. The problem is, you jam the wire in there, everything's exposed, you got a lot of moving parts. It's not going to be as dependable as what Bruno's doing, or with this method right here. This one's nice and easy too. We trim this back so that we can get this end right on there. So we'll turn this on and get that into place, and we throw this into this little impact crimper. I like to call it the smasher, you know, and then you get that lined up and you give it a good whack with a big hammer, which actually I'm going to borrow some space from you over there when you get done in a minute. And I'm just going to whack this thing on down there, and it gets a good compression fit. You heat up your shrink wrap on it, and there you go. It's nice and done.
Okay, now our lead is liquid, and we can go ahead and put in our battery line.
Nice.
Well, there we go. Pull the heat away and we should be good to go. You grab that for me?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so while this is cooling, I can go ahead and take it off, and then once it's all cooled down, I can put a heat shrink sleeve over it.
All right, that'll free up some room for the smasher coming in here. Take a look at this.
I'm going to give you your room with this.
Dude, I don't need much room. Yeah. I'm good with these things. You ready? We'll give it a good solid whack, and it should be good. Boom. Now, same deal. Pull that out. I got a good solid crimp, and I can put the heat shrink on, and we got a nice connection. So there we've got two unique ways of coming up with pretty much the same end result right there. All we have to do is heat up that shrink wrap, get it on there for a good solid connection, and those are going to be really good, which is nice because it goes to show whether you like playing with fire or smashing things, you can make up a cable like this in your own garage, do it at home, and save a little bit of money as well, and it's not overly difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all the time we've got to smash stuff today, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel with this race truck. There's a lot of work left to do, but I think the next time you see us, you're going to be able to fire up that small block, and that is going to be cool. See you next time on Truck U.
All right, dude. Let's get your hair.
Come on out.